Hey garden friends, I'm Nikki from Proven Winners Direct, and I have 7 more plant of the day plants for you this week. We have annuals, perennials, and shrubs. Keep in mind that our perennials and shrubs are definitely going dormant. It is cold here in southeast Michigan. I think the first time I've ever been in the greenhouse this year where I'm actually a little bit chilly, but our plants are going to sleep. And that means they're taking a nice long winter's rest so that they can be big and beautiful for you next spring. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like and how it's transitioning here in the greenhouse with our perennials and shrubs and give you a little bit more information on that. But for the good part, all of our plant of the day plants are 35% off. We feature 7 and they're all discounted on Mondays from noon until 4 p.m. Eastern time. And then we feature a new plant each day of the week starting at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. 35% off. So we make it super easy for you to shop. All of the links are down below in the description of our video. You can click on a link and it'll take you right to the product page. And while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind giving us a like and subscribe, we will love you forever. So let's get to the pretties. Our first 2 plant of the day is the Vermillion Kfia and the lemon coral sedum. Both of these annuals have always been top sellers for us. Everyone knows and loves lemon coral sedum. It's this beautiful mounding, spreading habit. You cannot beat that bright chartreuse green. Sedum is the easiest to grow. You don't have to do anything to it. It's heat and drought tolerant. It actually thrives on neglect. It's beautiful in the front of a border along an edgeway. It's going to just spread out, and it's a great contrast to just about any color that you pair it with. The Vermillion is a beautiful thriller. Believe it or not, this plant gets up to 2 feet tall and wide. It fills out, the foliage covers these long, beautiful stems, and these orange flowers rebloom and rebloom and rebloom all season long. I've never seen an annual plant that attracts more hummingbirds than the Vermillion. So if you love hummingbirds, you've got to try this in your gardens. These guys both work great in the ground and in containers. Actually, they look pretty great together, especially right now for fall, for my warm climate friends that are still doing combinations and fun things while all of us in the cold are jealous. But these are just 2 great solid annuals. Water well, obviously, feed them. This guy can probably get away with more neglect though, but Vermillion will blow your mind. Vermillion Kfia and lemon coral sedum. Next up, we have the Serendipity Alium, and this is the most beautiful ornamental onion you'll ever lay your eyes on. Doesn't look like much right now, obviously, but I wanted to pick one and show you these yellowing leaves and stuff. Eventually, all of this is the color is going to wear out. It's going to get really floppy, and eventually we're going to cut all these back to support its dormant process. Normal, healthy, perennial plant. Aliums are one of my favorites because you really don't have to do anything to them, and they're just going to put on a show every single year. And they have these massive purple globes that just rest on top of the plant. Love them. These are another one that when you're driving by, it's something that will catch your eye. They're beautiful in a walkway or hedge or a row if you have the space. They're nice and compact. They only grow to be about 1.5 feet tall and wide. Again, you don't have to do anything to them. You don't need to deadhead the blooms. They kind of keep giving off this cool contrast even as they start to fade. Some nice fall interest. These are hardy in zones 4 through 8, and you just kind of need to pick a nice sunny spot for them. Heat and drought tolerant, resist deer and rabbit, and the bees flock to these things in droves. Serendipity Alium. Our next plant of the day is the candy corn spirea. This is actually one of the most colorful Proven Winner spireas and one of my personal favorites. So obviously I am holding 2. They're both the candy corns, but this one is well on its way to dormancy. So I kind of just wanted to give you a visual of what you're looking at. Some of our spireas are still leafed out. Some of them are going to sleep. Both are exactly the same in terms of health and establishment to be ready to be beautiful for you next spring. So I'm going to put one of these down because it's hard to hold 2. So candy corn spireas are nice compact shrubs that bring a whole big impact of color. It starts off in the spring with new growth that's this bright candy apple red. It transitions into a very similar yellow like you see now, and then as new growth keeps growing as the plant matures, it's this beautiful orange. So you've got red, you've got yellow, you've got orange, and then to top it off, when it blooms late spring, early summer, it's these bright, beautiful purple blooms that just sit on top and cover the plant. So it really truly is just a pinwheel of colors. It only grows to be about 2 feet tall to 2.5 feet wide, so it's nice and compact. You can kind of tuck it in just about anywhere. You want to plant it in part to full sun, and it's hardy from zones 4 through 8, and it's deer resistant. Candy corn spirea. Next up, we have the spilled wine Weila, and this is all the things that we know and love about all of the classic Weilas. It just stays nice and compact. It only gets to be about 2 to 3 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. So it is wider than it is tall, so it's really great for walkways and edging your bed. It's that beautiful, nice, tidy habit that'll just make a clear space and a good point to follow the eye with in your gardens. What I love most about this one is that it has this beautiful purple foliage, and that kind of stays throughout the season. You'll see some greens in there too, but it's just that beautiful variegation and variation of color that I love. And then of course, bright pink blooms will just cover this bad boy. They're very easy to grow. You really don't need to fuss with Weilas. Plant it in full sun. That will bring out the best color in the foliage as well as the blooms. Make sure you fertilize once in the spring, but otherwise that's just about all you have to do aside from sit back and enjoy its beauty. Spilled wine Weila. Next up, we have the Gatsby Moon Hydrangea. This is a beautiful oak leaf hydrangea. Oak leaves are very whimsical to my eyes. They have these majestic stems that kind of go kind of crazy, but that's the whole point. They're beautiful. And they have these amazing, really densely packed blooms. So like a panicle hydrangea or a Mac hydrangea, the blooms aren't as tightly packed. It's like you cannot see through them, and they're big and beautiful and white. So my favorite part about the moon is that in the fall, you can't really tell it here because it's going dormant, but in the fall the leaves will transition to this amazing burgundy wine color. It will stop you in your tracks. I've seen a hedge of them when I was driving down the road, and when you know it, you'll know it. It's gorgeous. It will take your breath away. So that's my favorite part. Oak leaves bloom on old wood. So the main thing that you want to remember with these is that you really kind of only want to be deadheading them. And you only want to do that in the summer after the blooms have faded a bit. Any type of pruning is going to remove your blooms for next year. So just be careful with that. Otherwise, they're relatively easy to grow. They put on an amazing show, the foliage and the blooms. They get to be about 6 to 8 feet tall, and they're hardy in zones 5 through 9. Gatsby Moon Hydrangea. Next up, we have the Shadowland Empress Hasta, and this is one of our biggest hostas that we have. It grows 3 to 4 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide. So it is this massive, amazing mound of beautiful green foliage. So obviously I have 2 in my hand. One has been cut back. One is still nicely leafed out. We are going to continue to cut our perennials back as needed. You can kind of tell in this guy that the foliage color is starting to drain out. It's yellowing around the edges. There's some brown spots. It's going to continue to die back, and we'll keep it trimmed. And this just supports the dormancy process and keeps those roots nice and healthy. Empress is hardy in zones 3 through 9. You really just need to pick a nice shady spot, and it will just thrive and thrive and thrive year after year. You really don't have to fool with hostas. You could probably run them over and they'd still be fine. But just make sure you give this one enough space. Empress Hasta. That wraps up this week's Plant of the Day. Thank you so much for watching. Again, all 7 of these beauties are going to be on sale at 35% off starting today at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you learned something new or found something that you love. There's still plenty of time to plant, and it'll make your spring a whole lot easier. Happy planting.